Computer, go.
It's okay. The company we have is a consulting and training company, and for the past 12 years, it has been predominantly IT based. That's IT consulting, IT training.
Yeah.
Now, despite the fact I own the company, I've always loved mental health. I've been a nurse. And it was only 3 years ago when I stepped away from my full-time role as a nurse. I took more of a kind of operational lead with the company to see how it had been performing, what needs improving, and so forth. So then over the past year, I upskilled myself to become a organisational psychologist, and that was to gain the skills and knowledge behind the development and change within businesses.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that, I'd done that in my managerial nursing roles, but didn't have the knowledge base behind what was effective and what wasn't. So what we're planning on doing is this year, we're going to be expanding the solutions with our company.
Yeah.
And that's expanding the business as well. So my husband predominantly does all the contract work, on-site, remote. We have a couple of consultants, but they have full-time roles of their own. And what we've noticed is there's so many contracts out there that we can bid on, or we can put a expression of interest in for, and people actually approach us regarding them. But if we don't have consultants at hand, then that could be a big downfall, and then that could be rejecting business from the offset, and they might not come back again.
Okay.
So what we're going to be doing this year is, like I said, it's unstable. Bear with me.
I can still hear you. You're just looking very sort of wide-eyed at me. He's still there.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. You've disappeared from me. Yeah, there's not a lot happening your end. Oh, there you go. You're back again.
Yes. Sorry, I'm not too sure what happened regarding that. So what we want to do now is, rather than just looking at the digital,
you are fading in and out.
Support for human change and development as well, which is going to be my area and role. And how big or small that then grows will be up to myself, depends on what we're able to manage, and where the client need is as well. So predominantly the IT consulting and training is the biggest contractual turnaround for us. And it will be only this year we're going to be looking at offering the services I can provide out to others as well.
Okay, got it. So in that respect, in terms of speaking and things like that, where do you see yourself positioning yourself as the authority on the bit you're going to do? You still there? Oh, you've gone completely now. Gone. Let me... Yeah, I know what you mean. I have lights and things all around me, and it still seems a bit right above me.
Yeah. Sorry, so hopefully it won't cut out again for you. Do apologise.
No, don't worry about it. Honestly, it happens to me all the time. So you're now bringing in a new element of the business. Your business, I assume, is really quite successful in its current format. Yeah. So in a way, you need to be positioning yourself as the authority or expert on the bit you're bringing to it.
Yes.
Like the add-on. Okay. So in terms of speaking about it, where do you see yourself doing that? Think of all the places that you want to actually be out there telling people.
Yeah. When I've thought about this before, the good thing with human behaviour and psychology is it can be applied anywhere.
Yeah.
But I could say that, and if I went to go and speak to a sea aquarium and I didn't know their roles and responsibilities, I'm going to be a bit stuck. So when I thought about the niche areas that, I feel I know a lot about, it is in the healthcare industry. And that's in academic as well. So those are the two areas that I feel I could be of most value, and gain a quick rapport and connect with people very well.
Okay, so as I'm listening to you, it isn't about the niche market so much as the added benefit. So what you're saying is you've got your IT organisational stuff that's all settled, but actually, are you as a business, an employer, a service provider, is that bit as healthy as it could be? And that's the bit that you're bringing in. That's the added value you're bringing into just being an IT, because to be fair, I imagine a lot of people who just do IT probably have quite a few issues of God knows what going on in their lives. So what you need to be doing then is we need to create a really, really powerful story about you and the business, what you're bringing into the business now.
Yeah.
And creating a really strong message, because in a way, you've already got a steady stream of customers. So this is almost like an upsell.
Yeah.
This is almost like, well, that bit's working lovely for you now. Do you know if the other bit's working? Or actually it's about waking them up to considering and looking at how they do that organisational thing. Because you talk about change and development. Well, with the more IT we have in, the more change happens, the more development happens, and the more staff get left behind. The more dysfunctional and unhealthy, the bigger the organisation, the bigger that gets.
Yeah.
Because it becomes a snowball effect. So it makes perfect sense to me that you would bring this added element in this year, start of the decade.
Yeah.
Stuff coming in, you know, are people thinking about it? You know, there's going to be so many new bloody things we'll have to think about. So for me, I think what we need to concentrate on with you is your position in the business, the message you're bringing beside hubbies and the other people who work there, so the added benefit, putting that message really clearly so that when people ask what you do in the business, it fits together really well. So you could talk about IT, organisation and development stuff, however you bring in the human element of the organisation and its values and whatever else that comes into it. So it's seamless. And it doesn't sound like, well, I gave up nursing 3 years ago and now he's doing this, so I thought I'd just has to be seamless. It's the next stage. We need to build your story. And that's about your past, the nursing, the things you've learned, the new things, the story of how the business developed. And it's almost like a future story. It's almost like, and with these two coming together, this is where the business is going. This is our journey. And, you know, only us can do that in this particular way. So we need to concentrate. So it's message, it's story, it's the added value, and then where you're going to do that. Because there are a lot of conferences and a lot of annual conferences, especially around IT and development and things like that, that you can add that extra value to around the staff member, not just the hardware and the software, it's the human interaction. So there's lots of places you could be speaking. We just need to make that seamless. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah.
Did you have any other goals you'd like to have happen?
Well, I know I spoke to you before in regards to you saying, you know, when you've got the 3 speeches, you know, the 3 things. I was approached last year regarding speaking at a conference about inspiring women in business. It's Champion Equality and Diversity. That's this month. So I volunteered through Twitter. I was like, I like to get out and have a natter with people, you know, and just see what people are doing, how they are. And I volunteered to steward. And when I met the senior lecturer regarding that, she was, you can put that in your presentation. I was like, presentation? You are going to speak because you've got to speak. I was like, okay, but it'll be my first one. I've never done that before. So she wants me to just discuss the struggles and successes, because what she was saying is that when they've done conferences previously, and even with speakers up and coming this year, that they're focused on, well, this is a success, this is what I've done. But people want to know how you get there and how many
people buy the journey. So they love to listen to good, you know, inspirational speakers, but actually People want to buy the journey. They want to know that they could do that journey. So that's the first thing we need to get started. So we need to really understand the message you want to give in that particular speech. Because actually you're a female working in quite a male-dominated world still, to be fair. You know, IT and all of that is still fairly male-dominated, although there are more women coming in. And actually, it'll be interesting because I do a lot of work with Bournemouth University, and one of their lecturers is doing some research on women in IT. So I might put you two together. So let's get started on that, because that would be one of your 3 speeches.
Yeah, I thought it might be. Yeah,
absolutely, because there'll be a speech around the business and the way the business works and how you put your bit to it. You'll have a signature speech about you as a woman in business, having come, you know, from nursing the struggles, you know, to a successful business, and then bringing those extra elements. So, you know, I often get asked to go and speak just about me, which I find really weird, but that happens because when you become successful, people want to know about you. But it is about, for me, it's about, well, I do all this now, but I wasn't doing all this, you know, 10 years ago. And when I left school, I certainly never envisaged that, you know, I would be doing all this later on in life. So that's good. So let's work on that one and get that one done. Get that message clear, because then you'll understand the process of building the message.
Yeah, okay.
And that'll make start. So when is this speech?
It's on Thursday, the 23rd of January.
23rd. Okay. So first question, what is the message you want to give to that particular audience? All right. What's the theme of the conference?
So I'm just going to run back downstairs and go and get my other note.
Go run. Yeah, no worries.
Okay. So the title of my session is called My Story in the Industry and the Future for Inspiring Women in Business. So for me, it's about I want to try and connect with as many people as possible, and inspire them to do whatever it is they're not doing at that moment. So it's to overcome, whether it's a fear, whether it's a change, and doing something new. So it's just trying to connect with people to inspire them in that way.
So the clear message for you is to this audience is to just do it.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I call the core of the apple, but that's what you're trying to get. So you want to inspire, motivate, however that might be. It's about saying, no, you have to just go do it sometimes. Yeah. So that's the core message. Right. So everything we build around now, your speech is around inspiring and showing people. So with your to do it, you've got first your journey. So tell me, have you always been a go-getter?
I have. Yeah, I have. I can't even lie.
Okay, I'm going to take you right back now, back to childhood.
Yeah.
If you were always a go-getter, why were you always a go-getter?
I grew up with a mum who was a dependent alcoholic. I had to care for her when my dad left at the age of 9. Things were very, very difficult. So, for example, if I didn't go and check my mum's benefit at the post office, you'd have to go there back in that day. If I didn't go and do that, we'd have no gas and electrical food, because I used to have to slip some money out before I gave it back to my mum. So from that go, I knew if I didn't get up and do that, well, I would have nothing for that week.
Okay. So that taught you to just go and do it because you had to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Okay.
So that
I'm just breaking this down. So the fact that you had to, because if you didn't survive, basically, will speak to those people who have had similar backgrounds, but unlike you, weren't able, for whatever reason, to pick themselves up at that age and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was always be told that I was quite a serious young person, but I kind of had to get up and get things done.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that isn't even, to a certain degree, isn't even about strength or weakness. It's about I had to.
No.
End of. That was survival.
Yeah, survival. Yeah.
Yeah. And I chose to survive. And for me, there's always that choice element. And other people may not, for whatever reason, have been able to do that at a young age, and so may have ended up in care or whatever happened. So you're going to be talking to people who understand dysfunctional family. That's part of your story.
Okay.
And part of the reason why you are like you are today.
Mm-hmm.
The other half of the audience are going to be, well, I had a perfectly normal upbringing. I didn't have any of this. Why would I go just do it? So we've got to balance that a bit.
Yeah.
With, do you think if it hadn't have been for your upbringing, you would have still have been as go-getting as you are?
No, I personally don't, because the environment where I grew up, it was just limited. People limited everything.
Yeah.
So to me,
nice. Yeah.
To me, I didn't want to limit anything. And even meeting people that were like friend-wise, growing up, very, very privileged home life, they just didn't really have it in them. Well, don't have to do that. Don't have to.
It's that word limited.
So they were still limited.
It's a really powerful word, because you were limited by your environment in your upbringing.
Yeah.
You were limited by the fact that you had to look after your mother, so you had to grow up really quickly. You're limited because you're a woman in an IT industry. You're limited because you're a black woman in in an industry. You can't get away from that fact. So in a sense, it was limitations that created for you emotionally all those opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing you need to be talking about.
Okay.
Limitations aren't limitations.
Yeah.
If you approach them in the right way.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is what you did.
Yeah.
And what you probably do now, without even realizing it, is every time you look at something that says you can't do it, you do it anyway. So you don't believe in limitations. So your journey really is, and your lesson to people is, don't look at it as a limitation. Flip it and see what the opportunity is.
Yes.
So, for instance, for me, I have, fibroids, so I'm in a lot of pain all the time, and people would say that's a limitation, and all I do is flip it on its head and go, well, I ain't giving in to that, so that's an opportunity for me to go out there and do something else, So I think that's the thing of your story. It's like you went into nursing and then you came out of nursing. Well, you could have been limited and sit at home and let hubby earn all the money.
Yeah.
You didn't. You looked at it and went, what extra can I bring to that? What extra value can I bring to the customers and the clients that I'm going to be working with? I can bring the human side to it.
Yeah. My husband did want me to literally flip my life aside and say, just be at home.
He wanted to look after you.
Do whatever you want to do. I know, it's so lovely. But I was like,
you grew up to be looked after.
You still look after me, but I've got to help. I just love it.
Yeah.
Helping people.
And again, that's the whole point, isn't it? So again, your message all the time is when you think it's limited, it's not. You just flip it on its head and you find the opportunity. And that's the journey you've taken. Every time anything's turned up that may limit your progression or your self-development, or anything, you just go, no,
yeah,
not going to let it stop me. Now, for you, it may just be pure stubbornness. For other people, but that's the message you're going to be giving to people. That's what you are the expert in.
Okay.
Limitless possibilities,
Yeah.
not limited.
Oh, I think that is, yeah.
That's basically your thing. So what you're saying to organizations is, with all this IT and stuff, and they go, oh, I haven't got the stuff, the change. No, look at those opportunities. They're limitless. So you say that to a group as well as an individual.
Yeah.
And that's what you're inspiring people to do, to open their eyes, switch that thought process and go, okay, yeah, I am a mum with 4 kids and hubby just walked out. What opportunity is there for me?
Yeah.
That's what you'll get made a knight for at the end of your life.
I'll be inviting you, Bev, I will.
Yeah. I just think, because when you talked about your story, and you talked about, all these things that push a lot of people down, for years, I just got on with it. You didn't even see it as a child. And that's the interesting thing. As a child, you didn't even see the limitations of it. You just did what had to be done.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing you need to. So in terms of your doing it, actually what you're saying to people is, when you shift that thought to limitless possibilities, then you can go and do it. But it's the limitation that stops people just doing it. And that limitation may be fear, it may be environment, it may be perceived, not able to do it.
Yeah.
It could be anything that's in that person's head. But unless they shift that, they can't move forward. And if you hadn't have shifted that, you wouldn't have the life you have today.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's the message you're giving to people.
Yeah,
That's the added value.
Yeah, even just how you phrase that, I know you've used the word limited, which I said, but the way you phrased it, it makes me think of how many times, like, I speak to everybody. I love it.
Yeah.
If I see somebody and they just look sad, there's, like, for example, there's a mum at the school, and she had an emergency cesarean, and every time I see her, I'm like, everybody says, oh, how are you doing? How's the baby? How's the kids getting on? And I'm like, yeah, but how are you?
Yeah.
How are you mentally?
Yeah.
How are you?
That's because you understand people.
Yeah. And it was 2 weeks after she had a baby, she messaged me on a Friday night, and she said, it's the first time I've had a friend over. And I said to her, when you had your baby, did anybody ask you about your mental health? The friend was like, no. There's this mum at the school that asks me every time she sees me.
Yeah.
And now 2 weeks on, it hit her. And she was like, yeah, it was traumatic what I've just been through.
Absolutely.
It was amazing. I was crying. I was like, because I saw it in her. I saw the blankness there, and I'm like, it was very, very traumatic birth. And I said, that's going to hit her, but she needs to be prepared. Yeah. Because it's a scary world if you're not as well. And if
the next lesson on for her is, yes, it was traumatic, it was awful, it makes you stop, and actually the opportunities of that is, look what you've learned, look what you've survived, look how strong and brave you are, and you've come out the other side, and things like that, and you're not going to let it stop you.
No, definitely not. No,
having another one or whatever it might be, because
no, not at all. Yeah. So when I messaged her after Christmas, and she was like, I look forward to see you. I was like, that's great.
You drive the bus of limitless opportunities. Showing people how to just step outside of that fear zone, and flip it, and make, I mean, in the old days we used to go, make the best of what you got, but it's more than that. It's more than that. It's about making the best of whatever your mind can come up with. So that's going to be your main story and message. Okay, that limitless possibility thing, which will vary in language between this thing you've got on the 23rd, because that's going to be much more, I call it woolly, but what I mean is that sense of, this is about life, this is about inspiring, this is about, you holding your head up, and no pressure to do it today, but maybe tomorrow. But business, you're going in, and this is about creating a strategy, not limiting yourself with that strategy, thinking outside the box, thinking, where's your business going to be with those staff members you want to maintain and retain, and all of that sort of stuff. So the message is exactly the same.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Mm.
You are the director of limitlessness.
Yeah.
And I think when you think about it in that way and start talking about it in that way, it does dovetail with the IT stuff absolutely beautifully.
It definitely does, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you talked about change and development, which
Yeah.
can be so, organizations go, we don't want to, and that's why so many people get paid huge amounts of money for change management.
Yeah.
And actually what you're doing is change management.
Yeah.
It's exactly that, but you're just putting it in a slightly different way for people to go, oh my God, yes. She's not just another change management consultant.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
understands where we want to go with this. And it's you. It's not you trying to be a corporate
Yeah.
speak. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So does that feel like a good message to work with?
It does. Yeah. It just
Right.
connects everything really well.
That's at the core. Yeah. So then we build out from there. So how long is this presentation you've got till the 23rd?
Oh, it's
An
20
hour,
minutes.
2 days?
Oh no. I've got one of the prime time spots apparently for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay. I want you to think of 3 things in terms of not being limited that you want to pass on. 3 sort of areas that you want to think about.
Is this what I want to discuss on the day? Sorry.
Yeah, so we're structuring this presentation as we've got a core message that you want to get across, and this isn't something you're going to say outright. This is the one that you hold in your heart and your mind. This is what you're doing. So when you put the presentation together, you could do some, and I say 3 because it helps keep your structure. 3 is the magic number. So it could be like emotional sort of barriers. It could be physical barriers. It could be you want to talk to people about, when we talk about limitless, it can be small as well as big. It's about 3 areas that you feel are important to pass on to people.
Mm.
So think back through your life and try to think of things that were really significant to you.
Every time somebody told me I'd fail, I never did.
Right. Okay, so
and I say that because they didn't want me to succeed.
But is failure really failure? Think about now, you've got an audience of people and, they're thinking failure, oh God, that's it then, it's done.
Yeah.
But is it done?
No, and I'll give you an example now. So when I did my yeah, so with my nurse training, everyone was like, no, just before I started my nurse training course, the 2 children that I have that are the eldest, their father left. I was homeless, and I just got a property, and I started university the same month, and it was just really, really difficult. Like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, and you shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, well, I can see where I need to be. So rather than the course taking me 3 years, it did take me 4. So people may have saw it as a failure that I didn't pass in 3, but I still got there.
So the first thing you're going to talk about is failure truly failure?
Okay.
Or is this another possibility? And then you can tell a bit about your story. Yeah. And that one fits it beautifully, how it could have been, all happens at once. Most people would have just gone, well, I can't do it then, But what you did was you looked at it and said, okay, I can't do it in 3. It's going to take me 4, but I can see the end.
Yeah.
So the lesson in that bit is, failure isn't failure, because, don't use that as something to limit yourself. Don't use it as an excuse to limit yourself. Just do it in a different way. Or however you would word that, the way you would inspire people. Because I guarantee at least 75% of the audience at some point would have felt they failed.
Yeah.
And we don't like the word fail.
No.
That's just a slight delay. It's like, a little rock in the road there. Just a little bit. The bus is just slightly broken down, but it'll be both back on the road again soon.
Yeah.
So, right. So that's one. Another one. think about possibly, and these are only possibilities, you may want to change these. Think about the things that could have stopped you. So let's look at someone, black woman coming from very dysfunctional family. Now, it doesn't have to be black, actually, anybody from a dysfunctional family who hasn't got that support, and that, you know, we all talk about, you know, how we're reared, and you know, we talk about the mothers that sort of supported us, but you didn't have any of that. No. Does that actually matter to people to succeed or not, to have this beautiful, loving background? Has that got anything to do with how people move on?
I think people assume that if you come from a more stable background, that's the only way then to be successful.
Assumptions.
Assumptions, yeah.
So do assumptions limit us? And that's our own ones about us and those about other people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, and we all make assumptions about ourselves. And well, I can't do that because I can't be a model because I'm too old. Yes, I can. Stomp around with pink boots. So
I hear it a lot. You know, there's some. I can't do this. I'm too old. I can't go back to study. I can't start a new career.
It's just an assumption we make.
Yeah.
Is it an assumption or an excuse?
Yeah.
But you've only got 20 minutes, so we can't go too tight. That's for an hour.
Yeah.
For an hour's discussion. But assumption's another one, because it's about picking those things that people can relate to and go, oh yeah, I do that. So most people go, yeah, I thought I'd failed at that. Oh God, yeah, I make that assumption about myself. Or I've made that assumption about people that work for me. Yeah. So haven't encouraged. We all make assumptions, so it's easy to relate to that and follow your journey. So do you have any time in your life when you made an improper assumption? Even if only for a little bit.
Yeah, I did. When I'd finished university, so I was single mum, 2 children, and I thought, right, I want to buy my own house. And then I worked out my finances, and I thought, I just can't do it. So I assumed, because of my limitations at that point in my life, bearing in mind, qualified as a nurse, I was worse off than I was as a student financially. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
That's been passed. I was like, right, now I know what I need to do. I need to look at the opportunities that are out there that will increase my skill, knowledge and experience, but the pay increases.
There you go.
Yeah.
You've got an assumption as well.
Yeah.
And within that assumption, there was fear. There was that whole thing about I can't, because, you know, assumption is one of those words that has all sorts of things in it, and I think that's lovely, because you've done the failure. I thought I'd fail, but no, it took me 4 years. Then I made an assumption that I couldn't, and this is what. But I switched that round, and actually I did. I did own my own house as a single mother and a nurse. On a crap wage, but you did it. So now we've got failure and assumption to one third one that fits all this.
There's 2 that I think you can have a discussion about. One is believing in yourself. Or the second one is, what does success mean to people? Because someone might measure success differently to somebody else.
But doesn't that come into belief?
Yeah.
It's what we believe.
We're the same, yeah.
So, and that's a great place, because I always say to anybody who's done really, really well, it's very hard for people. They see your journey, but sometimes it's too far away. And it is about saying, it's about what you see as success. You know, and for some people, the success may be just being able to get out of the house the next day. Yeah. Up to those people that go, my success is I'm now, you know, in a £1 billion company. So belief. Yeah. And we all have that one as well. What do you consider success? And again, within that is, what do you consider success? Why do you make assumptions on those limitations? Why do you believe them? So now people are going, oh yeah, I suppose I could. Yeah. I don't actually have to think like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me about the overall audience of this conference you're doing. Are they business people? Are they?
It's going to be a large mixture. It's based at the University of Wolverhampton. So there'll be quite a few lecturers there and employees in different roles.
Right.
But it's looking from an equality and diversity angle, because it's championing equality and diversity as well. So I think you can have people from very different walks of life and very different experiences, upbringings. So I'm thinking it's going to be quite a diverse crew, really, but more on the probably professional side of life, perhaps.
I think, but you've also got to think of it in terms as your business as well. So within that belief one, I think it might be a really good idea to then start talking about the beliefs organisations have as well, about their staff or about change or about, because now you're beginning to bring in the business, what you do.
Yeah. So
that people can go, and they maybe the lecturers then go, we need to know more about this. We need to invite you to do guest lectures. If you're really lucky, they'll pay you, but it's a university.
Yeah.
But you might have business people in there that go, actually, maybe I have got the wrong belief system about, the human side of my business as opposed to the IT. So that's about them bringing you into the belief system. Isn't necessarily only in your own head. Sometimes it can be collective and you don't even see it. And that's where diversity gets lost, because we collectively put everybody under whatever our own belief system is.
Yeah.
And diversity to me means everybody being an individual, not being a collective of students or a collective of staff members or a collective of that all work from the same, song sheet. So maybe that's the point that you bring in.
Yeah.
It's about organisations as well. And within my business, because you should never, ever not have the opportunity to mention that you run a business. This is what your business looks at in terms of after IT development. How does that affect staff development and the business as a whole thing? So that gives you your 3 lovely points that people can follow. So they've understood, failure doesn't mean failure. And that's almost like one of your mantras. They've understood that we make assumptions. We all make assumptions in all walks of life that limit us. That goes into our belief system. That then our belief system becomes something we don't even think about, because it's funny. I've met people I've talked to and I go, so you don't, see, they say to me, I'm not racist, or I don't mind gays. And I look at them, I go, well, you must do, because you're mentioning it. You've made an assumption that you're not, but actually I'd question it. And they go, because it just gets ingrained in their heads. So what you're doing is saying, and in terms of diversity and everything else, those assumptions affect our beliefs that affect the way we work, the way we run our businesses, the way we, whatever.
Yeah.
The only person who truly understands this is you, because you are the expert. Been there, done it, worn the t-shirt and written the book. You've been there, you've done all this. And you have bucked the trend. You have not given into failure. You have not given into assumptions. You have always questioned your belief system and just gone on and done it. Yeah. In fact, your belief system is quite simple. If I can do it, I'm going to do it. Nobody's going to stop me. Yeah. I want to do it. And then you go into your conclusion. Okay. So now you have a beautifully structured 20-minute presentation.
Okay.
And if you can put some really funny slides to go with some of that, rather than lots of words, you have a beautiful beginning. And that is the beginning of your story.
Yeah.
That includes the beginning of your story with little snippets. It includes the key message that you're talking about. That there's that we place the limits on ourselves, no one else. And it talks about your business. And what is going to be your call to action? What do you want people to do?
Don't know.
One, if people want to find out more, they need to come and talk to you, especially if they own a business, because you want the business.
We're actually, me and my husband, we've got an exhibition stand at this conference as well.
Perfect. Then your call to action is come and have a chat to us at the stand. See how you put the human and the the other digital together.
Yeah.
But however, your stand works. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what I want you to do is go and work on that loosely. Now, we need to talk again in the next few days.
Okay.
Early next week, because and we need to see the structure so we can really go through that and pull it so that it's coming from you. They're your words. You're sparkling at it. You love the whole thing. And look at the slides that are going to be put together for it. If that's okay with you, I'm just going to check my diary here. Are you around on the 14th?
Let's have a look. 14th is Tuesday. I am, yes.
Right. What sort of time do you want? Earlier the better for me, just in case I have to go off and do something.
Okay. You can say 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, perfect. Which also means you have to have had your presentation structure all together.
Yeah.
Because I'll be kicking you up the bum. So 10 o'clock on the 14th, we'll come back together and we'll start. If you've got most of your presentation done, even if it's rough, we can then look at it, share it here, look at it, pull it apart, look at the sort of slides you're putting together, and make sure that message is really coming across.
Yeah, I already started a presentation, but soon found out that I was rambling in terms of what I wanted to get across. Far too much going into the short slides.
We just want pictures.
Yeah.
Just want. I mean, if you can imagine how, some really funny slides around failure, so that the audience pick up some of that humour and can almost laugh at themselves. Those assumptions. Bound to be an amazing graphic we can find on assumptions that make people go, oh yeah. And then when you go into the belief thing, it's slightly different.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what you need to do, and that's what we'll look at next week. So by the time you go on the 23rd, you'll be so excited.
Yeah.
to give this message. And it'll come across really, really confident. And the main thing will be really clear. People will absolutely exactly understand what you're saying to them.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's great.
Good, Limitless Queen. Right, I will type all this up. I will send you the recording and all the other bits. So next one is on the 14th. I'll put this in your goal thing. I'm very good at paperwork. It's not my strong suit. Otherwise I keep going, okay, what did we talk about last time? Every week. Yeah. 14th of Jan. Perfect. Are you happy with that? Is there anything else you want to ask today around that? Anything you want to touch on?
No, that's just brought so much clarity. It's been really, really good.
Good. Yeah. And get a big picture above your desk that it's you create limitless within limiting beliefs, or whatever it is that because that's your message. That's it. Everything goes around that. Everything.
Lovely.
All right, darling. I will get this done. I will send it to you and the recording, and I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thank you very much, Bev.
Get busy. All right, darling. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.